The deeper and deeper I go, I find what it is I should know. 'Cause it's just a matter of time that you'll reawaken your mind. Oh, come with me, come to know and find out what is true. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living the lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening minds. Come to know and find out what is truth, yes. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living the lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening minds.
Happy Holy Day, Moors, and welcome to House of Reawakening Minds. House of Reawakening Minds exists to provide for the exploration and practice of spirituality in an enlightened community dedicated to honoring the myriad of sacred pathways to the universal creator. We are a holistic center for spiritual grounding, free thought, self-discovery, and Moorish science, an awakening experience for all ages. Tonight, our National Grand Sheik, Taj Tarik Bey, and I are pleased to present to you, along with Brother Raz Jai Bey, the importance of coalition building. But before we begin, please be sure to like, share, and if you have not already done so, subscribe to our channel. Wow. Welcome, Islam. Welcome. Welcome. And for those of you, first of all, I want to say, beg your pardon. Thank you for allowing us to start a little bit later. This is my weekend for my 50th class reunion. You see, I got my 1993, which was my 20-year reunion shirt on. I just came from the meet and greet, so I didn't get a chance to change. The reunion tomorrow. So this is why I've got this shirt on, and this is why we're also late. But we're here. We didn't want to not do, we didn't want to not do anything just because of this. So we pushed it back an hour, 15 minutes. But thank you for your indulgence. We are here. Tonight, I believe it's going to be an exciting discussion.
Yes.
Grand Sheik. I want to tell you a little bit for those of you who are not familiar with our guest tonight. I'm going to just read a little bit about Brother Raz Jai Bey. He was born in Brooklyn, New York. He, besides being a father of 5, having a financial background on Wall Street, he's also a master plumber, a skilled handyman, having vast contracting experience, as well as an expert workmanship skills, and we can attest to that.
Yeah, we can attest to that.
With regards to engineering analysis, high-end quality restoration of residential, commercial properties, and estates. And he came into the knowledge of Moorish science at the age of 27. His tutelage began with his father, and through the years he met and studied under several great mentors, including namely Isa Bey, Constantina Bey, and of course Grand Sheik Taj Tarik Bey. He was formerly active with the Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs as a Razam recorder, later taking on the responsibilities and duties of Wazir. Presently, he is the newly elected, I can say this right, is it Quasi? It's Quasi. No, Qazi. What is that?
That's right.
Qazi. Learn these new names. Qazi, which means Supreme Court Judge, representing Anu Manhattan Predium Ante New York, an organized Moorish provincial governmental body. So I wanted to give you this brother's background so you will know why it is important for the topic that we're going to be discussing tonight, coalition building. First of all, I want to say to you all who don't know about, let me see, back in August of last year, I put a call out. We put we put a request asking for volunteers to help us with the needed renovations to the House of Reawakening Minds. And our brother Roz was one of those who, matter of fact, he did a major part. The flooring, yes. He and his brother installed the new flooring down there, and then he went came back and he installed a shower, yes. and remodeled, did further remodeling to the bathroom, and just has done a lot of things. So we can really attest to what you bring to the table, my brother. Appreciate you and appreciate your volunteer work, your coalition building, which is why we want to talk about. You and I have been talking over the months about the importance of coalition building. And Grand Sheik, before we really get into it, I wish you would just kind of address the people about what took place this weekend and why we feel it's important.
Oh yes, in its nature, that was coalition, up close and personal. And of course, everybody knows that Rajai, came through this past week, and gave his support, etc. We had Moors that come from all across the country, from the Pacific area, from the southern area, and from the north area, over to the House of Reawakening Minds and Canaan Land, and we all shared and interfaced, shared information, and a lot of both specific and casual conversation went on. And it's in the nature of coalition building also, as what do we do with this knowledge, how to apply the knowledge, other additional information to inspire people to come on board and help get things done. And in the nature of that, and particularly when Dr. G told me that Brother Raj would be on, I was really fired up about that, because we need and we should do this even more often, because ultimately the Moorish movement, the nature of the Moorish movement, part of its political agenda is coalition, and it's said in this statement, the uniting of Asia. As a matter of fact, that's how to close out of the Circle 7 Quran. And I also had a text from the other side supporting what we're doing from the Kingdom of Morocco, which the writer said, the Moors here need Circle 7 and encourage us to keep doing what we're doing, etc. Because they know, the political allegiance that's necessary for us to begin to take our places in the affairs of men. And of course, I don't have to say much to Brother Raj relative to organized government, because he, being a member of the Order of the Great Seal, he already knows that, because that venue is designed to achieve and to support and to administer just that fact of political union and operation. Now, for people in general, coalition in its nature means alliances, unity of tribes, nations, governments, etc. But we want to look at it from the reality point of view, that our people here in the Maghreb, or North Gate, that's the Western Hemisphere, have been pretty much subjected to schism operations that have been institutionalized in real time from the members of the United States Corporation Company, who are operating as a de facto government on the land, exercising political jurisdiction and civil jurisdiction on the land, and in many ways in violation of both Constitution, treaty, and in violation of international law. And most of our people, not being aware of that de facto posture, have been misguided or misdirected under the guise of racism and prejudice to divert their attention to from the reality. And I would like to share some of their military strategy, so that the people can be inspired as to the reason why Brother Raj Guy suggested for us to even have this conversation, even this evening. And it shouldn't stop here. Now I'm going to read and share with the public, take notes, and then we can continue to talk and casually, share information and share a conversation to inspire the people, and also give them some directives, for action. Now, this is exercise from a table, right? This is a list, table of strategies, and all of the political operatives of the United States Corporation Company. And remember, these orders go to all of their corporate subdivisional contractors. So the issue of principal and agent and principal always applies. And because our people, for the most part, have not been aware, our people have not been on guard, as you might say, or they have not had their minds in the proper directions of what to do. This is again why Brother Raj suggested that we, have this continued conversation. Now, this is a directed, documented, silent weapons executive order 11490. The military subdivisional title is called King Alfred, also Rex 84 plan. They have a table of strategies of to do, and to. It's in the nature of cause and effect. One column has do, the next column has to, comma, or to get. So this is a cause and effect operation from a military strategy. This is issued to all governors of all the corporate states, and of course to all the congressmen and senators, and also to the military contractors, etc., even down to the foot soldiers that they themselves refer to as soldiers, Roman soldiers. To do, one, keep public ignorant. This is to, or to get, less public organization. Two, access to control and points, prices, and sales. And that is to require reaction to outputs for feedback. Three, create preoccupation. And that's to lower defenses. Four, attack the family unit. This is to control of the education of the young. Five, give them less cash and more credit and do less. This is to create more self-indulgence and generate more data. Six, attack the privacy of the church. This is to destroy faith in this sort of government. Seven, social conformity. This is computer programming simplicity. Eight, minimize the tax protest. This is to maximize economic data, minimize enforcement problems. Nine, stabilize the consent coefficients. This is to get simplicity. 10, to do tight controls of variables, to get simpler computer input data and greater predictability. To do, establish boundary conditions, problem simplicity, solution of differential and difference equations. Proper timing, to get or to create less data shift and blurring. Minimum resistance to control, to get maximum control. Maximize control, which is the ultimate objective. Collapse of currency, to destroy the faith of the American people in each other. That's schismata. Now, as a note for everyone, as we're reading this, because as we've talked, as you already know, Brother Raj, among ourselves, we've been telling the people to get their fiat out the banks. They already are in the operations of in the different areas going to within this week close around 35 banks strategically in California and in major what they call large city areas. So they'll probably be doing it in New York too. And they're going to be closing down ATMs, and that's this week. And they're accelerating. So as we've been telling people for years, we trust that you've used your intelligence to do what you can to secure. Keep in mind their intent, their weaponized intent, is to impose the private circle church and chanceries digital currency so they can absolutely shut you down politically to reduce your capacity to counter. Also, so that they can maintain the misclassification of people in order to still extract tax from people who have been misclassified and misrepresented in personage, as well as with the corporate structure of income relative to the Supreme Court Tax Act of 1909, in which they have amassed billions, multiple billions over the years by deliberately misclassifying the people of the land and applying tax to them that never should apply to them constitutionally or treaty-wise, etc. And because the people are becoming wiser to things going on, and particularly with as you already know, Rajai, with the Order of the Great Seal, you know, when we've done anything major, and a lot of times we don't argue on small stuff, even though we should on every point, maintain the enforcement of the law and not giving tribute tax to the Circle Church and Chancery through the United States Corporation Company, knowing that it doesn't apply to us. And as you already know, as we've been teaching this to people for 30 some odd years via the Order of the Great Seal, etc., that a lot of people are mistakenly thinking it's a belief system, not knowing it's the enforcement of the law, which you already know is the nature, the hub nature of the Order of the Great Seal, to have that carried out. And of course, because they have weaponized all aspects of government, etc., it is important for us to come into coalition. Although we know most of our people are still operating on a schism platform, it is vital that we really come together and figure out different ways to cross those boundaries, which are mostly psychological, dealing with our people measuring themselves by their belief systems and not by their pedigree. We want to try to overcome those miscomprehensions in order to get some things done. So I wanted to throw that out there just for a starter. I yield the floor.
Yeah, Brother Ross, you and I have had some discussions around some steps. We are going to do some more in-depth sharing in our closed setting, but from a standpoint of where you see things with regard to coalition building and the importance of it, this past weekend we did a strategic planning session with the people that were in attendance and broke it up into those four situational groups of what is it, the SWOT, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And in each grouping, we had to come up with five strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we also took the opportunity to introduce ourselves again a little bit further into what it is that we do, because a lot of times we don't know. You just can't look at someone. You wouldn't look at you necessarily and tell that you are well versed on Wall Street. But when you say it, when you share those things that you do, we found we had a lot of, for instance, truckers. We had some who had been in the medical profession. We had educate people, in the educational field, and the list, the gambit. It was sprung, but what we saw was an opportunity to keep the discussion going, to start to build. So I would like for you to address, you shared some things you didn't get to share all because you brought a really knowledgeable brother with you who you gave up some of your time for brother Yeshua.
So,
And so can you share with us your perspective of coalition building and what we should and could be doing at this time given the climate that we're currently in?
absolutely. Well, first, I just want to say, greetings to everyone that is a part of the show. I just want to say, first of all, give thanks and honor to the matriarch, the mother, because, we wouldn't even be having this discussion today if, the matriarch didn't put all of this into existence. So I just want to, give honor to the matriarchs, our mothers, our sisters, our daughters, that is the uni or what they call the universe. So that is the foundation and the principles. We got to understand what we're building for. It's for those generations to come. Um, so I definitely want to give honors. Definitely want to give honors to the elders, the mentors, Brother Taj. You've definitely given us foundation over the years. A cornerstone because that's what is needed. We can't build if we don't have that cornerstone. So great honors to brothers like yourself and other elders, Dr. G. You also your talents, your gift, because we're talking about coalition, right? So we're talking about those gifts that we bring to each other to uplift and bring that positive out of each other. So your gifts of networking, your gifts of pooling the resources of people to get in the same room, at least have a conversation with each other. As we know with our culture, that could be a separation or Achilles heel for our culture to be sitting in a room just to plan or to develop or to agree to disagree, but to get on the same chord. So these things are important. When we're speaking about coalition or we speaking about nation, we got to understand who we are, what we have to give, so we could all so we could build. So I just want to state that for the record. And like you said, we're in this together. It's not about the big eyes or the little U's. It's not about the titles. It's not about you know, my pedigree is better than your pedigree. If you can identify yourself with being Moorish or how you self-identify yourself. Um, there's a universal collective goal that we have to get on page with. You know, and we can take a book out of what other nations are currently doing real time. We don't have to do it exactly like them, but we could take a book out of some of the pages that they're doing, check the
Hmm.
box, so we could be recognized and identified not just by the United States, but by the other nations on earth. That, to me, understanding more science, and one of the things the prophet was trying to bring forth was us being competent to take care of our affairs amongst the affairs of man. So, as we know, there's different levels, but to be sitting at the table, which is the international, because that's what you showcase your culture. You showcase your arts, you showcase your gifts. We showcase that to the world. People admire it. People, respect it. And it's also our duty to make sure no one disrespects it, to make sure no one puts any classifications on there. So we also have a responsibility too, when it comes to understanding coalition, understanding what it takes, understanding the bond and commitment that we owe to each other first before we can even be respected amongst any other nations on earth. Um, so I definitely want to, just get those points, but these are foundation keys that we need to um, check the box on and use, to build any organization, any nation, any state, because all of these things are in harmony with each other,
Yes.
and is what the world respects. It's what the resources and the resources of you guys, the people. You bring life into the resources. You are the creator of the things that the world wants to trade with. So we got to really intrinsically understand the value of ourselves first and what we can create together, and
Yeah.
prosper and bring things that other nations want to respect and enjoy, and also want to do peace and friendship with us. So, before we get deep into it, I like to speak about definitions of what coalition is, because for the audience, for those that may not understand what that takes, and what the intricate bodies of what coalition is, because there's many various parts to it, and these parts are important because each one is like a Lego piece, or each one, fits the puzzle to where the puzzle is complete. Um, so if we could just actually go over, some terms of definitions, before we go into Dr. G, some of the things that we went over this weekend. I just want to think that's important. Any discussions that we're having, people kind of have a general fundamental understanding about the discussion so we can follow along. Um, and I'm just using the general references. Anybody could look this up on Wikipedia. You could look up, what it is to be a part of a coalition, and just, you could do your self teaching and just go through some of the terms that you may see on it. But I just took a few of them, and I just want to, read them out so we kind of have a grasp or understanding what the intricate parts are. Just give me a second. Okay, so what is a coalition? A coalition is a form when two or more people or groups temporarily work together to achieve a common goal. The term is most frequently used to denote formations of power in political and or economic spaces. And these are key things, because if we, studying the prophet states that, about the finances that's ever needed so badly, so the nation could be, blissfulest and dwell where it needs to be. So it's hand in hand. Um, so, that's just a formal. So let's talk about what is the roles of coalition. A coalition is an organization of diverse interest groups that join their human and material resources to produce specific changes that are unable to be delivered as independent individuals or separate organizations. I'm just going to
Yeah.
repeat that one again, and I
Yeah.
hope
Please do. That's a
Repeat.
the audience, because if we
Take
look,
notes, y'all.
what we've been doing in our Morris groups, our Morris organizations, much respect to all of the temples, for withstanding and holding up what you guys been doing, because we are, under, occupation, but we also have work to do within ourselves. But, it's going to take everything coming together,
Hmm.
to be well respected internationally. So I just want to read that definition one more time. Um, because I think it's very important when it comes to understanding our coalition. Just bear with me. Once again, a coalition is an organization of diverse interests, groups that join their human and material resources to produce a specific change that they are unable to deliver as independent individuals or separate organizations. Okay, let's go on to other things that are important when we speak about the roles and what coalitions are. So, let's talk about what happens in coalition for those that are, in the or knows about coalition or looking to assemble or be a part of the, formal organization of coalitions. So it deals with in multiple party states. A coalition agreement is an agreement negotiated between the parties that formed a coalition government. It codifies the most important shared goals and objectives of the cabinet. It is often written by the leaders of the parliamentary groups. That's key, because that's the international recognition that secures and protects, the body in the whole. So that's key. The benefits of coalitions. Coalition raises awareness of issues, brings people together around a common goal or projects, creates solutions that serve the entire community, and seeks new partners to participate in that goal. I'm going to repeat that one more time. These are the benefits. Coalition raise awareness of an issue, brings people together around common goals or projects, create solutions that serve the entire community, and seeks new partners to participate in that goal. Okay, what is a coalition in a community? Let's speak about some of those things within the community that brings, the energy towards the coalition. A coalition is a group of individuals and or organizations with a common interest who agrees to work together towards a common goal. The goal could be as narrow as obtaining funding for specific interventions or as broad as trying to improve permanently the overall quality of life for most people in the community. Okay. What are coalitions and why are they important? Keynote. As collaborative partnerships of diverse members who work towards a common goal, coalition affords community the opportunity to combine the leverage resources from multiple and diverse sources. That's key. That's key. Last but not least, and we always can expound upon this, when it deals with this term with coalition, because it is a vast, just like our estate, it's a vast estate. But these are the things that you do so you have control of your estate and you're not letting others control your estate by their legislation, by their, policies, and, by whatever outside sources that you do not have a voice or a say, when it comes to your resources. So I just want to read this last part. And it says, how do you run a successful coalition? Because anything we want to do, we always want to do it in, success, to be able to pass down, to our future generation. Effective coalitions are not bureaucratic entities with narrow goals. They are a means to reach beyond what a company already knows. They succeed best when members are open to learning from one another in order to guide joint actions. And along the way, they may even change their own thinking. Islam on that?
Yeah, yeah. So awesome.
All right.
So that is basically, when you hear a lot of discussions going on, as you mentioned, the diverse groups and individuals. Yes, you may have something going on that you think is the bomb.com, and it may be, but you may need to join forces with someone else or some other organization in order really to push that thing over the top. And a lot of times folks are so protective of what we call sometimes our baby. We birthed that thing, we created that organization, we created that that app or whatever. But to see it as contributing it to the whole. And we talked about this, a lot of folks don't want to lose their autonomy
Mm,
in
yes.
the process
Yes.
of coalition building. However, when you can get the mindset change to the gifts that we have individually were given to us for the purpose of building coalitions.
Entrusted.
Yeah.
It was entrusted.
So do you believe or feel that it is a mindset change that has to take place with amongst us, our people, in order to start coming together freely. And we know that folks have been taken advantage of. So we know that. We know that there are people whose purpose is to do that. And when I say that, I say it because I'm very cognizant, Grand Sheik, of the fact that we plan our lives before we get here.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever role we're playing, that was the part we agreed to play. We may have forgotten that it was a role that we're playing. You know, the whole world's a stage and everybody's got a part. So yes, we have put in roadblocks and speed bumps and, you know, antagonistic behaviors and folks that'll say crazy crap or do things that seem to be counterproductive. However, it is because it is a challenge. And it is overcoming, I believe, the challenge that sometimes makes the victory that much more sweet or stronger. You know, when we can come together in spite of the fact that everything that Grand Sheik read from the King Alfred plan shows that things have been put in place to deter this, just exactly this, to deter us working together, to give us so many diverse
diversions,
the platforms and diversions that we can never ever come together to build anything. Like we're the people in the Bible that were building the tower until somebody said, "Oh, we need to scatter them because if we let them get up here, then there's nothing that we can withhold from them." And that it seems to be that we're that people. We seem to be the people that somebody said scatter them, and not just scatter us across the land, but scatter us in our thinking, scatter us in our hearts.
Correct.
And you know, again, you know, even with the scattering of the people, we already know from a military perspective that's called schism.
It's
And I think it may be one of the things that we can do to help is with all groups that we get together with, that they should have a copy of Executive Order 11490, number 1, for reference. A copy of civil orders from Pope Francis to Barack H. Obama as far as documents, so that we don't need to convince them of the importance of coalition building, that they would know themselves. Because I think, well, I kind of know from dealing with people from around the country and talking to people, you know, in other political jurisdictions, is that our people lack a knowledge of the weaponization of everyday affairs. They have been trained to think it was just a mere attitude, not knowing that it's actually a military operation. And so that they don't have to accept our word for it, effort should be made that the little bit that was extracted from Executive Order 11490, which is incomplete, has enough information for anyone to know the political agenda of the United States Corporation Company in its occupational administrative operations of de facto government, so that the people should know for themselves that they should not doubt the importance. That is not just a good idea. It's necessary for our economic, social, political, and even physical survival, because their agenda operations is to devour us. And of course, with the operations of Rex 84, which was not supposed to be public as far as they're concerned. However, it, you know, from divine order, some of this information got out. And as you already know, members of the Order of the Great Seal have long been aware of this. And some of the sheiks from the Moorish Science Temple have long been aware of this. One of the problems has been the difficulty of getting this information to the general public, including many of the leadership members of many of the different disparate organizations who have been operating under the misinformation, thinking that our political stance was just from the Moorish Science Temple of America, not knowing that it's a universal reaction to actually military operations, that many of them just had no knowledge was going on. And I think with this information documented in their hands, it won't take a lot of work to convince them to put their, schism operations aside, and also be aware of the fact that the sensitivity to the autonomy in the concept that the people have been using was actually a taught response and not a natural response. And not knowing that it was militarily instituted, that they think that those are emotional reactions that come from our people in their different organized groups and belief systems. They think it's the nature of their own action, not knowing that that originates from schism operations, from weaponized socialization. Yield the floor.
Islam. And can I also just add to that? And I would also advise, the audience and everyone that's listening, please look into international law because, Taj, I do want to thank you. I appreciate you because you give us a lot of the foundation and the footing, what is going on, the timelines of the date, what is going on. And what I appreciate about, the information is that, the information is there and it's not just one source or one location you could just look to validate what's going on around the world. So I would also encourage those to look at what's going on in international community. Look at what they're speaking of, look at what their
Yeah,
legislation. You would see that when you start looking into the international resolutions and there's conventions around there's treaties that they're forming to deal and combating a lot of these things. I definitely encourage the viewers to go onto those international, and you will see that there's a lot of other nations that are also speaking, those same languages that you're reading in the civil orders, but you're seeing
exactly.
other nations around the planet, that are actually now recording it and bringing a claim, to these entities that are bringing, these atrocities all over the world. So, I
Yeah.
also encourage, the family to definitely look at the international, laws that are being, set out and settlements and
Yeah.
disputes with dealing with all of these.
And in harmony with what you're saying, and it's like being a member of the Order of the Great Seal, I'm kind of talking to the choir, but I'm speaking redundantly in certain areas for the general public and the listeners,
Hmm.
and also encouraging them with the work that they have to do with substantive information, and so they don't assume that it's just mere opinion.
That's
And again, this is one of the reasons why we always remind them that the United States is a private corporation and not a country. And because the masses are under the illusion that it's a country, they still operate with the mental training concept that they have a civil jurisdiction authority of sovereignty over the people, their estates, and their affairs, when that's the furthest thing from the truth.
correct.
And as a secondary thing, which we will talk, we probably don't have enough time tonight, but it's very important for the concept of established law, of quote unquote, the Clearfield Doctrine in relationship to this political reality be known and explained to all of our people. And many of our people get together and have meetings, and they spend more time debating than actually establishing factual information.
Correct.
Because when you're dealing with de facto government, the people are not aware that they have no sovereign authority whatsoever under any condition. And the fact that they've been exercising sovereign authority is both a violation of international law, a violation of civil orders from their head, Pope Francis, etc., and also a continued violation against the natural people of the land, which constitutes both treason, war crime, and moral and ethical, what you would call aggression,
Correct.
and tort, etc. And logically, what you recognize, and not, again, like I said, because I already know, that where you are with Order of the Great Seal, but I know that many of our people have not studied on that level and have not had the opportunity to coalesce with brothers and sisters who are on that adeptus level. And by virtue of the way people are generally educated, we again are countering the misfortune of them thinking that the political position of Moors is individual to the order of the Moor Science Temple of America or the Order of the Great Seal, when it's actually universal.
Correct.
And because of that lack of knowledge, they very often will follow the narrative of mainstream news and actually take a counter or an offensive view of other nation states who are countering unum sanctum operations, not knowing
Hmm.
that they are proper, thinking that they're against us. They're not against us. They're against the order
Correct.
of the Virginia Company, known as the United
Correct.
States Corporation Company, which is a conglomeration. This is what people need to understand, that the United States is a conglomeration of European companies together, with the United States operating political jurisdiction on the land at North America under the pretext of being a sovereign nation. If that's not understood, logically, a lot of the coalition concepts would not be shared or adhered to, because the people keep thinking we, and it's never been we. It's been the private foreign corporation pretending to be we. And I know it's difficult, and I know it's unfortunate, and I
Uh-huh.
know it's stressful. However, that's the political reality. And while our people are mustering around their thoughts in that
Hmm.
area, they need to be aware that the ongoing genocide operations of Rex 84 and 11490 is operative,
Hmm.
whether we're passive or not. My presentment is that we cannot afford to be passive or to be spending a lot of time trying to convince people morally or ethically, because they have a tendency to identify themselves by their beliefs
Hmm.
and not by their pedigree, which is detrimental to their physical, economic, and political health. And again, I want to give honor and thanks to you for suggesting the continuation of this conversation on the coalition building, because it is far more important than most people know. And I know some people who are listening will take interest, but they have no idea in general how dire this
Hmm.
situation actually is. I yield the floor.
Islam. And go ahead, Dr. G.
No, you got it.
Um, and it's key. 1871, and brother, beloved Taj has been teaching about the organic act of the District of Columbia. And people, we do have to understand the United States is a public trading company owned by private stock shareholders. Let that resonate. And then let's look at what's been happening to us since 1871. And now you can understand why we've been placed into certain situations. Yes, it has to do with the military complex. They're one of the backbones that are, you know, uh, um, playing two roles. They're playing hypocrites. Under treaty law, they have to protect and secure the lands. Under corporate, they are bonding and securing the people under misrepresentations off of these de facto contracts. So we have to understand two sides of how the United States is, of how their hands is being played internationally. We got to understand the world is looking at them internationally, but they're also looking at us and how we're organizing, how we're coming together, how
Yes,
we're, self-governing our own resources, our own territory,
fair.
right? And
Yes,
that would be how we would, liberate for all. But it has to come one voice. It
and move forward,
has to
because we
come.
can't move forward. This is one thing for sure, Brother Ross. And again, much respect to you for being steadfast and consistent in your operations of holding position in the rudder and sextant in the order of the Great Seal, on behalf of the Moors of North America, the indigenous tribes of Americans, etc., in according to law, national and international, which is at the heart of the Order of the Great Seal. And of course, people who advance a little bit more, and this goes to show why it's important for us to do more outreach, even from the Order of the Great Seal, to give people organized platform, because that platform was already organized structurally in general, and that would give them a pattern. And because of the lack of information with the people, I think a lot of times they think it's so private that it doesn't associate to them when it absolutely does. And so we're going to have to do some more coalition building in that area so that people don't waste years trying to reinvent the wheel.
Correct.
Because you also know the reality is politically we don't really have the time, but we just got to do what we got to do and take the losses, do our best and lead the rest, knowing that we're, how do you say, behind time, really, because the world is already moving on these principles while we're still trying to coalesce our people. But, the urgency of it, and we're not trying to frighten the people, we're just telling the real truth. It's we're in a dire situation, and the sleep are easier for them to eliminate economically and physically. And when you see them doing what they're doing now, shutting down the ATMs and showing this week ongoing, they're shutting down around 35 banks, right? And closing people's accounts and stealing people's, which we told them they were going to do. So that would give them time to put people under such economic pressure. And then plus they released all operations on foreclosure. So the corporate operatives of BlackRock, which is a party for the United States Corporation Coalition, is going to be stealing people's houses and then renting them back to them at a cost that they can't afford in order to create servitude, because they know what's coming. Even though we've been slow here to carry out what Noble Dwali has said, you already know, and I know, that the rest of the world has been studying his work carefully, and their operations are right in line with the instructions from Noble Dwali, including the restoration of the Republic order prior to 1871. You're aware of that. I'm aware of that. But the people need to be aware of that, and we need to get past the egos of some of the leadership of these different orders and get this information to these people at all costs. I yield the floor again.
I have a question, Brother Ross. I'm not sure what, if anything, you can share with regard to some of what was discussed this weekend. I know we're going to do, I see some comments talking about statehood is the only thing that is recognized amongst the international community. That was addressed this weekend. I'm not sure. Can you speak to some of that and what has taken place so far, and what can you share any of that?
As Islam, and when it comes to statehood, we have to understand, it's the importance of it. It's not clubism. It's not something is better over the other or something's better. No, it's just the liaison to sit at the round table, or to at least initiate our issues to the international community. So just like how we have to put the United States on notice when we have our issues and disputes, it's just checking the box the same way. If we want to be respected by the international community, we have to organize ourselves, check the box how to organize ourselves, deposit, put them on notice, who, the ones them are elected by vote, not self-appointed. And you check the box, and this now gives you the footing to make a de jure international claim when it comes not only to your state, not only to your organization, everything that recognizes and everything that's attached to it. So it's just, a voice to a international community, that those that, have the pedigree, have the experience, and as many brothers and sisters, that are all around, the Maghreb, that knows, about the international community and what resources and how we can bring that aid to the people. So, I'm, give thanks for many of the other brothers and sister states that actually encouraged us and gave us, excuse me, a template and showed us how to be self-independent, how to decolonize our territories, how to do communication with the international communities. So it's just, a step that needs to be done. We're
So
not.
how, excuse me for cutting your wisdom, how do we get other, I think you've mentioned, it was mentioned
uh,
that we're 10, is there 10, or how many are there more? How many are exist already? And
okay, so
can you say
yes,
where they are?
definitely. And any brothers and sisters, any families that are looking, we also have a international organization that's known as the Wazir Regional Organization. That is where questions can come. Help brothers and sisters that whatever territory that they're at, it's a coalition thing to help bring them on collectively what we're doing, because it's, keeping us honest as what, whatever capacity that we have, and the people coming online raising the questions so we can format it, bring it, to the international community with one voice. So that's the keys. And this is the thing that we got to understand with international community. Um, we have a lot of issues with our families that we need to erase. But we got to understand that, we have to at least count out five things, top five, that we all can agree. And we will get a lot of things moving, a lot of resources that are being held, you know, restored back. But we have to, do it in one voice collectively under harmony, and showing that we have the competency to not only one take care of our resource, manage our resources, um, and to what they say to protect, those resources. So, we
Yeah.
got responsibilities. It's not just assuming something. It's about actually being at the table. Hey, okay, this is what the resource is at. This is, how the emergency factors work with the resources, how, the resources are distributed. These resources actually supply, 10 millions of people in this community. We have to be at the table if we're going to be serious about, we want to restore back our lands, our territories, and our communities. So we got to be serious, and the only way to do that is to be around the table so you can get, the information that you need so you can bring that on to the other people.
So the states that have organized, I'm back at that, because
Yes.
there's many, most of the people who are on
Hmm.
this broadcast are not aware, they were not at our event,
Hmm.
and they didn't get the benefit of what you and brother Yeshua and even what brother Yakuba
Hmm.
shared. That was, and Grand Sheikah's Wisdom Shield. All,
Yes.
four of you all, of course Grand Sheik is always sharing, but you all were able to um, give us some current goings on that are happening, that I felt and still do feel is key to where we need to get to,
Hmm.
in terms of building coalitions. And like you said, we don't have to agree on everything.
Hmm.
If we can, you said five. If
Five.
we, because I'm thinking about five smooth stones, and sometimes you only need
Well,
one of them
always
to
on
do the
principle.
thing that you got to do.
The
And
principles.
yeah, with love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. But when you get those things down, when you can agree on that, um, first of all, I'm so happy that love is first, because I think that's the key. If you master the love piece, everything else is easy peasy, falls into place. But that's where we tend to get hung
Hmm.
up on, not loving ourselves and our people to the extent that when we do what we do it not only with ourselves and our immediate
Hmm.
family or so-called kinfolk and loved ones at heart, but we think about everyone. And I'm going to digress for a minute, because I don't know what y'all think about this. I felt it was interesting. Like this week, I watched, last week and this week, I watched two movies, and it was interesting because I saw some of the same themes in there, with in terms of things being done, to communities. The one was, of course, everybody's talking about they cloned Tyrone. And the interesting piece to that, when you got to the top of the heap of who was keeping the people down, and causing, cloning and being behind the behind the scenes hand that rocked the cradle, it was a melanated man, right?
Mhm.
And I also looked at Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and they had all kinds of beings that were cloned and this, and when you got to the one that was at the top that was doing all the stuff, he was a melanated man again. So, and then I saw children, lots of children in the Galaxy 3, so it kind of spilled over into that freedom movie that everybody that some folks are downplaying. I'm saying this to say that there are probably likely at the top of this heap who would like to see things remain in a chaotic, unified, organized body. Folks that look like us, right? Folks that look like us, but nevertheless, I think they banked on the fact that their plan has worked, because we haven't had an opportunity like we have today to get information out to besides telepathy, like back in the day. Now we have this modem. We don't know how long it's going to last. They're saying that, for instance, the internet's going to go down, and it may be down for a couple of months. And we haven't even learned how to get back our old telepathic abilities that we've let recess and no longer use. So the urgency of folks coming together where they are, or reaching out maybe to you and brother Joshua, what you all shared this past weekend, and some of the things that you've shared with me, I think are key things that might spark that. So we are going to do a unfiltered session so that we can be a little bit more open with regards to some of the things that are taking place. But in the meantime, what advice do you have for those who are listening that they can do in place? In other words, where they are, where can they start? How can they start? My thing is start with yourself, but where beyond the self?
Interjection.
Yeah.
Interjection, because basically, I know this weekend, and Raj knows this weekend was actually Majlis.
Yes.
So we want, which is Parliament.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want to get to the Great Council, which is Dalal Aziz.
Yes.
That's the Great Council. That's what we're seeking. But we need for them, once they open up, they need not reinvent the wheel. We have what they need for a structure. The issue, what we've lacked is will.
Yes.
And what we want not to do is have people waste time trying to figure out organized government. It already existed. They weren't being taught civics. Now, even though we teach civics, etc., for the most part, we don't go into the section and rudder because the people don't even have the basics. And then you have people and detractors, constantly beating the people and trying to keep them down, and we keep having to redundantly reiterate certain concepts, leaning on their morals to use their reasoning mind. But again, like we all know, the dark priesthood are accelerating their genocide operations, which deals on multiple levels. It's always layered. And we don't have the comfort level of casuality that we have gotten used to. Even conscious people have gotten used to being casual. But the deal of it is, this is again why we've always tried to tell people years ahead different things that were on the plate of the agenda of Unum Sanctum, to forewarn them, so that, because most of it, again, everything we've said, we've been telling people for 30, 40 years. It's just that it seems new to them for some people, only because they're finally beginning to listen, not because we haven't said it. And we're repeating certain things for those who have the younger who are coming up, and those who weren't listening because they were caught up in their emotional agendas, which is not theirs, but was part of the MK Ultra mental engineering design of animal husbandry. And so we're forgiving or forgiving them because we know they've been under mind control. They don't know they have been. But this is again why it's important for people and brothers and sisters like the Kazi, or Raz, who we know that it was Majlis, but we already know we aren't going to bring that up because people get diverted. Then they want to talk for 2 hours on things that they're not grounded in. So we had Majlis this week, but we know that if we just say that, then people get defensive and they close down. So we let everything just happen. Let it be casual.
I mean, I'm gonna put this up.
Yield the floor.
There's a bunch of different comments, but I'm just gonna put this one up for instance. Katie Bay says, "Why do we need K-Day Bay? Why do we need a coalition when we clearly have a divine and national movement?"
Because the divine and national movement is a coalition. It's already done, but the people have not exercised it. They have not activated it. Let's look at this. And what do we talk about for years, even in the Order of the Great Seal? What do we have in the Proverbs literature? The Moorish Temple of Science was established and registered as a civic organization. And with the great sellout, ever since then, they've been telling the people that it was a religious organization after he adopted the religious affidavit in 28 in order to protect the people's property. Right. And they have been telling the people that the agenda had changed. Therefore, civics was not being taught in the temples. We don't have to tell you that. You already know that. But the deal of it is the Order of the Great Seal maintained the national side of the movement that was politically being suppressed. But because people took a defensive position, they were rejecting it as if it wasn't part of the coalition of the divine movement, when it absolutely is. It is the civic side of the movement that has been neglected. It is not different. It is the coalition. You have the floor.
And, to answer that question, it's not a separation. See, this is where our brothers and sisters got to understand, don't take a word and think that it's separating you just because a word is unfamiliar with your vocabulary.
And this is back to the point that people, by not knowing civics, they thought it was separate.
Correct.
Because they don't understand both jurisdiction, status, estate, anthropology, pedigree, and national state government affairs. So they don't recognize it. They think it's different or in opposition, not unlike the prophet warned the people, etc. Which is also why the prophet has said, recognizing the infiltration and the violations, why he did what is known as the additional bylaws in the back of the questionnaire, just a page in from the back of the questionnaire, and also why he made the statement for that letter that he presented to the sheiks to be read at every meeting, that's not read at every meeting, talking about the infiltration and the people trying to take over. And he said, people are going to come into this movement with their eyes already open and going to carry out my law. People need to recognize that the coalition of the divine movement was infiltrated. It's not an ego thing. People should not put their ego in front of the political reality. Also do some research on the at least 36 files that was released by the FBI with the infiltration that has been suppressed. Order of the Great Seal knows about this, but most of the people in the temple have not been aware of this. So they thought that their operations in the temple was harmonic with Drew program when it actually was neutralized. That doesn't condemn the brothers and sisters who go to the temple. It just demonstrates that they weren't aware of the political intrigue. But that's a reality that they shouldn't feel sensitive about. They should be defensive of the movement and deal with the reality and understand that the hybrids are waging war on us, even while we intend, for whatever the reasons or biases, to maintain passivity, which is detrimental. I yield the floor.
Islam, and I agree with that. And the truth is, it's really simply could be course corrected. The division is becoming in between is everybody wants it their way. It doesn't seem like anybody wants to give up anything just to get along.
Like the doctor said about autonomy,
Mm-hmm.
but a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it has to do with a lack of knowledge and actually what you call subtle beneath the surface fears.
Correct.
They're fearful, and also because we've gotten into this trend of trying to please people around us that belong to these clubs. The issue before us is not clubism, it's nation. That's what the coalition's about. The Moorish Divine and National Movement was put in place to restore the nation. Yield the floor.
What about Brother Ross? The people who have not nationalized, have not made, declared some of the steps. I mean, those. I would think some of those are important steps to that we are all claiming the same nationality for the same. If we're going for a common, birthright, we need to get that thing in order, because you hear a lot of different things for a lot of different people. You have folks that are, and we've even talked about it, people are afraid in some cases to lose certain benefits and privileges that they have
or
obtained,
perceived benefit
perceived that they have
Not
obtained.
real.
And what kind of how can you address that? Because there are things that you say regardless of what you do, they stay in. You don't, and I think that sometimes people's fear that once you make that declaration, that somehow you could be stripped of something that you've come to rely on.
Well, this is the thing that, and you and I spoke about this, that really understanding what nationality is. To me, I think, and for me, I use myself as an example. Coming into Moorish science, it was almost like an identity crisis. So much things was being explained, and so much things was being revealed. You're trying to, figure out exactly who you were. Especially having a quote unquote African American, understanding or thinking that's your pedigree, or believing that you're from another part. So to me, it was more exhausting to try and figure out a lot of this identifying who I am and who I resonate with, and trying to find out who my ancestors were. But it made it more simpler to me to understand that our ancestors were all over this planet. I don't need to be in an identity contest with myself, and I don't need to have to force, that I identify myself as Moroccan, as a Moor. I don't have to force that on anyone. I just understand that I need to express it, and the pedigrees and things that are done within, our international law, can be used as far as delegation of authority, as far as wants and claim when it comes to uti possidetis juris. So once you understand international law and the terms of decolonization, it's strictly dealing with those contracts, those pedigree contracts that clearly distinct between the two parties, especially when it comes to treaties between two parties. So I tend to do more research with that understanding now, see how our ancestors were speaking on the lines of international trade and following a timeline in history to recent treaties, from 1880 to 1906 to 1912, Treaty of Fez, to understanding, what 1952 case with France and the United States, to understanding the 1956 relinquishment of extraterritorial jurisdiction, and understanding why the United States International Organization Corporation was left in default at Morocco, until our people, clearly 3/4 majority starts decolonizing the territories internationally recognized. So it was just, going through the international and looking at comparative to the domestic and trying to find a balance in between the two. I think that's what happens sometimes when you get compound with information. our people tend to want to choose sides.
with all of us.
You know,
And
yeah,
back to in harmony with what you're saying, why we already know the long-standing what we would call scholarship violation that has been practiced among us that must be eliminated, and that is where people have taken on titles and have produced no literature, which is in violation of scholarship, ancient and modern. Anyone who has a title that represents, i.e., nationhood, tribehood, guruship, etc., wazirship, if they have any title of authority and have not produced literature that's available to the general public for cross-examination and critique, then they're a fraud. But our people don't know that because they haven't been taught civics. Now, back to the issue of law and history going together. And this is back to where the prophet Noble Ali commanded that every temple must have a school. And of
it's
course, you already know, yes. And he talked about, our people being trained to jump through hoops. And so the fundamentals of law, chronology, and jurisprudence not being taught to our people is why this conflict that we're discussing at the moment exists. It's sort of like any other engineering. You have to, from an engineering point of view, you have to know the social disciplines in order to recognize what's broken. But because the people haven't had their basic civic or instruction, etc., i.e., they've been denationalized, they don't know that the knowledge that involves nationalization includes extensive civic and jurisprudence instruction that goes with nationalization. For that sets forth the realities of the culture and customs and traditions aside from the cosmological Gnostic wisdom that we refer to as religion, which is secondary to that first part. And
right.
therefore, if the people have no control of their estate, then their poverty keeps them from developing spiritually. This is where Dwali logically taught in Adam Chamber, but you already know as a general rule that knowledge concept, not just the concept, but the knowledge involving the extensive layers of nationality has not been taught. And this is again why it's important for people to recognize when we're talking international law and jurisprudence and treaty and constitutional enforcement, you're talking one of the major layers of international association of nationality. Absent of that, you can't not take your place among the affairs of men. Again, why I commend you for bringing this up, Brother Rajat. I yield the floor.
And I would encourage anyone looks at the 1906 expatriation letter. Truth be told, they would have to prove yourself not being Moroccan and then anything else. So it's really not something you have to prove, or you have to, now, that's what your pedigree is once you understand international law and what they say, the classism that they're trying to get you domestically to go for under their corporate citizenship. But the international world knows who you are already.
Yes, and the deal of it is, so you're dealing with fundamental operations of national. This is why they don't teach the Naturalization Act. When Ulysses Grant, when he made the adjustments, 1870, and that's why they don't teach about the Whiggamore Party Convention of 1854. All of these areas of information would make that clear to the people. But this is where the quote-unquote leadership has violated the people, most of them being Masons and holding that information back and feeding on the injury of our people rather than telling them the rules of a national association. And so when Dwali says, take your places among the affairs of men,
yes,
people who understand Great Seal National Association of Moorish Affairs know that's carrying out those orders. People who don't know civic think it's something different. This is again why all these decades I focus on civics, because I know where the machinery is broke, the social machinery. I yield the floor.
Dr. G.
Yes, from a standpoint of what we would you recommend to generally what we talked about with the TDAs, get knowledge and stuff like that, for would that be in a totally different vein of, because we, when you're
You
talking
mean for
about
the financial? You mean what was that?
yeah, for us, for Moors in general, I mean, because
Yeah.
that was an eye opener for me, and I know we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
veering off a little bit, but I always want to leave
With
the
that.
the the viewers with something that
What
they can go and like look that up and
I
say,
got
do
you.
what? Okay, could
We'll get back to that. We'll say that for sure, but I do want to leave them with something as far as ideas, what they could do, where they're at in the territories, and how they can come together. Because the key is really coming together, right?
yes,
So just use
okay,
that as a scenario. Doesn't matter what territory you at, brothers and sisters all over. Whatever gifts and traits that you have, some may be administrative, some may just have creative arts. You may be, the drawer, the publisher, or the writer. Whatever creativity you have, come together, form a name for yourself, an entity for yourself, some group name for yourself, right? That's for those that are on the creative side. Those that are on the state side are looking to get into intergovernmental or international correspondence, and how to now protect those organizations that are coming online for their businesses. We're going to
Hmm.
provide those, correspondence where the Wazir Regional Council can now help. And there's other states that before we conclude tonight, I'm going to mention some of those states. So if you're in these territories, you could reach out, or I'm going to send a list to you, Mama G, to any brothers and sisters that are in these territories and are interested in coming or being a part of the states. They could reach out to some of these states that's already online. So I'm definitely going to leave that contact with you. And also with that, we also have a regional council for those states that actually are not online or decolonizing at the moment. For Moors and brothers and sisters that are there, the regional council can also assist you, help you, check the boxes to get your state online and recognized internationally. Because that's the key. Once we got the international recognition, now we got all eyes on any occupier, any international government corporation and its subsidiaries. Now we got the international community observing infractions or violations, that's being done to the people. So we got our
well,
way too. Hmm.
how you respond to the ones who are saying that there is, the prophet already set this up through More Science Temple of America, and if folks just need, personally, I don't think everybody's going to go to the temple. I mean, you could, but if they don't, does that negate their participation in the liberation of their people or themselves, their family? If they don't go to MSTA of TFA, how will that stop this forward movement of coalition building, or can those coalitions eventually come under the MSTA?
So this is the recourse. What was the temples? The temples was supposed to be the ones that brought
What we're talking, what they
nationality
want to put
and and
aside.
and and give the people them the nationality. So when they leave the temple, they're able to do what? Function amongst the international community. So it's not about leaving the temple out. No, they're the cornerstone. It's about course correcting, right? It's about putting aside our pride. It's about it's not about the title that you have. It's about collectively coming together, knowing what we have to do and being responsible for our generations to come.
On
Once
purpose.
we can
Is
do
that the
that,
purpose? The people keep assuming that this contrary function or contrary purpose. It's not. It's it's the enforcement of the law. See what has happened with many people, just like they do in many organizations. They are like parrots. They repeat things and do nothing with it, and it confuses them when you see people doing something with it. They seem contradictory when what you have is really the dynamics of passive people compared to active people that have generally the same information, but passive people don't rock the boat. They
mhm.
don't take responsibility. And so they think that the passivity is the agenda, which it is not. Meaning, like as an example, when Dwali said, you're not Negro, black, or colored, right? Come all ye Asiatics of North America and hear the truth about your nationality and your birthright, right? He says, take your places among the affairs of men. What is that? That's international law venue. It's called diversity. It's called Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution for the United States, which he says in the divine warning to what help him in the missionary work. He tells you what the missionary work is. He said to bring my people back into the constitutional fold of government. So when people make statements about whatever organization they're in and they're not enforcing that, then they're participating in what you call club activity, but they're not carrying out the law, which makes them unfamiliar with it. But people are carrying out the law not against them, it's actually supporting them.
Absolutely.
Nationality includes civil instruction, a greater part of nationality. If someone says they nationalize or naturalize, either one, there's instruction that goes with it. And the instruction is absolutely similar.
Agreed.
Just like people that travel around the world or come here in North America or get what you call naturalization green card, they get a copy of the DAR manual to prepare them of the fundamental rules. This is aside from customary questioning by immigrant officers. Now, those fundamental rules of operations of civil jurisdiction dealing with citizenship, even though we're nationals, we're taught those rules too. And what you'll discover, most people that are making statements don't know those rules and don't know they don't know those rules. And therefore, when we're having these discussions, many of them think that we're contrary to their position. We're not. We're carrying out the law that was held back from them by the leadership, who they often keep defending because they have titles, when in fact they have actually been not what you would say sincerely supportive of the prophet. They have actually, by their actions, proven to be traitors. Although we don't sit around charging them with that, that is the documented, provable fact by both the FBI documents and by their own actions. But we don't preoccupy our time arguing with them. We go through the hedges and the highways, redeeming the people the best that we can. And we need them to understand that nationalization includes this information. And the fact that many people think it doesn't is evidence of the problem. I yield the floor.
And, you know, just to camel back on what beloved Taj was stating, you know, just a couple of the things that we can do, just to reaffirm, come together. It's really about unity. It's really about trust. We have to trust each other. One thing that's been broken within our families, within our communities, first of all, is not trusting each other. We have to build that back, major scale.
Yes.
And and if it cannot be done with, those that you maybe grew up with, or those people that you're familiar with, maybe it could be done with those that have like minds. Don't be afraid. It's not that you love that person any less. It's not that you're not concerned about that person or those individuals. But we understand that in life, if you want to progress, the easiest way to progress is around like-minded people. So as you're building, of course, there's going to be speed bumps in anything we're doing. But the key is, build upon like-minded narratives. If you can't disagree on a subject matter, or you can't disagree on how the business or the entity or the state is how it's going to evolve, the easiest way to come to that resolution is called a vote. You make a vote. It's not no personal, and make that vote supersede anyone's personal, effect when it comes to decisions, because the decision always has to be for the generations to come, and for the future of what your organization, your state, anything that you're intel with, especially when it comes to collective coalition building.
Yes, and right in harmony with what you're saying, which is another reason why I read the table of strategies. These are operational within the governing, not government, because remember, they're not government.
Correct.
Those that are governing, they're not government. They're not none of them are Article 3. There has been no lawful government operating on the land with civil jurisdiction at North America since 1871, officially February the 2nd, although unofficially that started after and has much to do with the real motivation as to why they assassinated Lincoln, with the intention of overthrowing the republic, which they did. And people don't know part of nationalization is that information being dispensed to the people so they understand cause and effect reasoning of a political alliance or coalition of the people. And as you see in their table of strategies to present us with these problems of divisions that we're dealing with, they have what? Collapse of currency, which you see happening right now, to do what? To destroy the faith of the American people in each other, which is what your present discussion is. And so the people need to understand that this was already strategized for them to bring this about, which is why we're even having this discussion. And the fact that the people often think these are just circumstances of us, of our people in their communications with each other, not knowing that our communications have been weaponized. This is why it's important for them to have in their possession documented Executive Order 1149 so they know the agenda of the operative corporate heads are active even if we're passive. And it's constant. I yield the floor. And just another interjection. People keep thinking that we're just talking opinions among ourselves. They don't know that we're talking actual world politics.
International law.
It's international. And when you nationalize, you become international in the level and the classification of diversity. And most of them don't know that when they have a nationality card, it's a declaration to the world of status of diversity. And yet they're not taught diversity. We need to fix that. And it's back to the point. In order to get the coalition working, these fundamentals must be taught back to the people, because they will lean back on emotional prejudice responses, which have been the training of all of us until we became awake, or what you would call nationally conscious. I think that people think that nationality is just name correction and change. No, it isn't. It's a body of civil information that's necessary for the operations of any organized group of people in a national scale to take their places among the affairs of men and to become competent in the regulation and the distribution of all things relative to their estate and to land. It is necessary. And if that's not in place, they will be relegated by default as state wards, no matter how passionate they are. And this must be understood. And I think people keep thinking that they can have these blank opinions and get away with it in the real world. It doesn't work in the real world, which is why the prophet did what he did. I yield the floor.
Islam. I also would love to encourage, the audience and the viewers that take a look at what's going on with those nation states in the continent of Africa right now. They're actually doing international trade, without the IMF, without the World Bank. They're using their own resources and they're doing international trade amongst the members of planet Earth right now. So, we have to come together, put aside this clubism, this titles or this gratification, this ego trip, this jealousy. We have to put that aside if we're seriously going to be respected amongst the nations on planet Earth. And yes,
now,
to do the same thing that, the continent of Africa did. They had to decolonize every inch of their territories, every inch, to be respected and to now have full control of their dominions and their habitats to now be able to trade with other nations on planet Earth. We also which also taught them how to do it. But we still have to fulfill that in activity, actions, not just speaking about it, physically assembling ourselves, motivating ourselves, coming together in coalitions, and making sure that task gets done.
Interjection two, and to share with you right along the line, 92, 93, 94, 95, the brother of the ambassador of Liberia would call me regularly every week. And we talked, and he would tell me about the problems of people's misconceptions of the establishment of Liberia to construct or to back up or to give grounds for reconstructed history, making our people here think they came from that side, not knowing that they're the Moors of the land of the West, which is why Drew Ali declared us Moorish Americans, making the distinction because we're all over the planet. Now I'm going to try to. Now I had his number on my old phone, which got corrupted, and I'm going to try. I still have that phone. I'm going to try to get it cleaned up and get his number and get the ambassador to call me again, because I get communications from other diplomats from around the world, including Ecuador, who came to see me in New York about 10 years ago. Now they're aware, and I think that if we can update some of our communications, that they would help in many ways. But they've been waiting for us, and I just want you all who are listening to know that. Don't think that we're just talking in the shadows. It's just that they can't make us do what we won't willingly do for ourselves, because we can't do international trade with the rest of the nations until we fix our jurisdictional issues here among ourselves, because you're still dealing with what is known as post and duty obligations under international trade laws. You can't just do things just because it's a good idea. You have to have your nation state in place. The nation state already exists. The difficulty is our people keep thinking they got to reinvent the wheel. And it's not unlike, Brother Ross, some of the problems that hybrid Europeans are having with the dissolution of the middle class. And many of them have used the UCCs or argue the statehood issue or state national as an issue to try to restore their degree of republic claim on the land. And whenever they execute it, or what you call complete acclamation of the reclamation of the bottomry instruments of the marriage certificates and the birth certificates, in order to become holder in due course of their lost estate, they often are responded this way by the magistrates. And for those who would question what I'm getting ready to say, please do some research. And the magistrates would say to them, you can't use the Constitution as a defense. You're not a party to it. This is another reason why when people keep using the white and black tags, that they can't claim the estates. They can't. And they need to understand it. It's, and so again, part of nationalization. You can't just come under the nom de guerre codes and claim or reclaim estate or the Sister QV trust. It's not going to happen. Not because of our opinion. That's established law, because heritability comes through the pedigree. This is why they say, honor your mothers and your fathers, that your days may be longer upon the earth land. If you don't know who your mothers and fathers are, which means who you are, you have no claim of heritability. This is why they use the branding system that is known lawfully as nom de guerre, pseudonym, which is the Negro, black, and colored and Indian game they've been playing with our people to make them in law process non-descendable. That is a conversation all in itself. The non-descendability of quote unquote colored people. I yield the floor.
I just want to say, I want to add this, and I've been responding to a few people. Some are asking that, and they're at other locations, maybe international. They want to get involved, and I'm just suggesting. And I just want to say this. I want to type my fingers off. join our website.
Please.
And please join the website, and I'm going to put that up again, but please join the website, and then you would develop your own profile there. If you're interested in doing some things, make it known in that area, and our webmaster or someone or one will get back to you to get you connected. We need to connect. I was telling you, there's a brother in or at Barbados, Brother Emmanuel Barilla, that I told you about, and that I'm really trying to make connections with him. And he reached out to me a few years ago, and he's the founding member and vice president of the Barbados Youth Action Program, MYAP, and he's the CEO of the Pharmacy It's
wow.
FARMAC, Pharmacy Fruit and Vegetable. Told me, if we can get a way to get the transportation, that's trade that we can do with our own people.
Friendship.
Yeah. And he's got coalitions built already with African nations and so forth. He's at Barbados and so forth. So that
we're behind time, Mama G. I'm telling you,
right. So we got to stop. They're not, wasting time on the things that we're wasting time. We'll do it. And you gotta, what that thing say, just do it. We gotta start it. You make course corrections as you go. You fix and tweak and all that, but we can't just sit here and argue about who should be doing something else or who should be going through this entity as opposed, instead of just doing it, because along the way, the good stuff will stay and the stuff that's not right, it'll filter out. But we got to do something.
This is Dr. D.
This is hold us accountable.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
we don't matter anything you start in life. The only way it's going to hold its value once the people hold the people, whoever's dealing with it, accountable. That's it. Exactly. It doesn't matter the name, the entity, the organization, the state of the group. The accountability is going to come within the people holding anyone that's in that public servant seat accountable. It's simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we, like I said,
and this is why they need to understand structure, because you can't hold accountability unless you have documented delegated authority, yes, which is why the Order of the Great Seal exists. They don't need to reinvent the wheel. They need to learn governmental structure that already existed that was overthrown. They need to understand that. And they need to understand what Secretary Roots was saying in that letter in response to how the Moors lost their nationality. And that if it's any proof that they needed, they got to prove that they're not. Because as the law stands, they're Moorish subjects. That's by law. That's documented. And these things, people don't have that information in their hands because they have not been involved. And again, this is back to Roz, as you already know, where it's been, unfortunate that people that have positions of power know this information, yes, and have been holding it back in order to create the schism or maintain the schisms to maintain their power positions that people have put them in, that has availed them access to the finance of the people. And they know that if the people learn civics, that they can't maintain their corruption.
Correct.
This goes with federal government, whether it's the hybrid Europeans, whether it's the Moorish Science Temple of America, whether it's the Nation of Islam, whether it's UNIA, it doesn't matter. Those fundamental rules apply to all civilized organization. Those are universal rules, and the people don't know they're universal in their character. That's part of the problem. That's why we got to teach people civics, because they think this stuff only applies to conscious Moors. This applies internationally. I yield the floor.
That's all.
So,
Dr. G, we'll definitely come back, and we'll definitely,
we've got to continue this. You already know it's not enough.
We'll pinpoint some grassroots levels, because I'm sure there's a lot of grassroots building that people want to be active and do. But the key is have the network. Mama, Dr. G, I always call you Mama G. So Dr. G's the network. That's the network. Once we have the network set up, the network now will set up the districts. And that's how we now can get to the grassroots and now get the resources. And the resources, could be anything. It could be something that you need to um, help filling out one of your social security forms for the elderly ladies, and you want to make sure that you're filling out your form right and you're reserving your rights on there, like you asked the question, Dr. G, to make sure your benefits or whatever that benefits remain intact. So we need to offer these service, teach, doesn't matter the age group, how to properly contract, because that's one of the things our people are lacking, the fundamentals in contract, because that's where your subjugation comes in, by not reserving your rights when you're contracting, and
Exactly.
it doesn't matter who you're contracting with.
And that's where the Jima comes in that they don't know about. So they need to understand the government structure has always been there. Mm-hmm. It has not been taught. And it's not that we don't have it, it's that, the leadership among these people have been blocking this information.
Well, we're going to make, I believe we're going to put the Rudder and Sexton on the website.
Yes.
So that all of that is available. You can study. That's another tool that can be studied and accessed, on the website.
And they need to understand that the structured government, even though they're de facto for the United States, is patterned after the principles of the Rudder and Sexton. The people need to know that.
Mm-hmm.
So the GMA,
Treaty of Tripoli. If they want to do that, Article 11, Treaty of Tripoli. If anybody wants to validate, how the United States,
which Obama kept sending signals when he made the conference in Hikupta at Egypt. Mm-hmm. And he brought it up and told the people the relationship of the United States with Morocco, making it very apparent. And then when he closed out the speech, the world reporters deliberately cropped out the trading banner, which is the Stars and Stripes. Both of them were present, but they only showed the Al Moroccan flag, the red flag with the 5-pointed green star. And you all can go look on your phones and you'll see it yourself. But if you do international research and you expand the picture, you'll see the trading banner, which is the Stars and Stripes, really to the right of that flag, but they deliberately cropped it out. That was clearly a message to the people. You'll even find a picture of him holding the picture of the prophet. So it's not like the signals haven't been sent to the people. It's that the leadership has not been emphasizing it. As a matter of fact, they've been de-emphasizing it. And what did he mention? The Treaty of Tripoli, and went into the history. And when you go into the ministers plenipotentiary, which include Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, etc., all of them had Korans.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a secret, but it's not taught.
We got another thing on that too, Dr. G, that we spoke about. Mr. Georgie over there, George Washington.
Yeah,
Georgie Porgy. When those treaties around that line, Treaty of Paris, otherwise known as the Treaty of, what is that, Versailles?
Yeah.
When we look at that timeline, there's an interesting, like we say, Dr. G, we'll definitely come back and we'll do some discussions around treaties and timelines. And why I like to discuss them, because, we read history and we could read it and interpret it in different ways. But I like to, have our own imagination, sometimes even place yourself in that timeline and say, hey, how would you treat one another? Or what kind of trade would you do to the context of readings that you're reading? So, we'll definitely have a roundhouse discussion on there so we can, speak about that timeline. I think once people familiar, especially around that 1700s, what was going on amongst the Moorish, what they say, empire.
Right. That was operating on this side.
Right.
And this is back again why it's important for them to know the people that they've been calling founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, and then were ministers plenipotentiary. with the establishment of the treaty before the adoption of the Constitution, which come from Muslim law, which Obama also stated. You know, some of these things Obama stated. It's not that it was just left to chance. People weren't listening.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one brother who's put a couple of comments out, and please forgive me if I don't say stuff right. Oh, I didn't get the first one, but before this, he said that he was in Ecuador, and how can I help? And I responded, Vida, yeah, let me put it out. So then he said, in September, I will have La Casa Bolinga ready to go, Center for Extraordinary Minds. And then, yeah, he said, how can he help? But he also, the fact he said he has 25 acres, let me see, of land with clean water. That, you know, we were talking, I guess, like farm and doing the trade and so forth. This is Ecuador. So we got this, you know, thank you so much. Please reach out to us. You can do it on the website. I'll definitely put our phone number here in the chat. If you want to, you know, give us a call or I'll put the email address here in the chat. If you want to give us an email, because how we can connect.
Coalition is in order.
And we talked about this over the weekend. Not the only one, but for now, you know, House of Reawakening Minds just wants to serve sort of as that hub so that we can connect. I've already been connecting the dots for years with people. People call me about one thing, and it may be a day later or a month or two later when I realize that the next one that called me, I need to connect them with that individual. Some folks have been connected for extraordinary works. They're doing extraordinary things just because I remembered that you called me and you said you did so and so, and now this one is calling me and they need what you do. And so, you know, we need to be able to connect. I was hoping, Grand Sheik, that we would have the I know LaChris is working on market share, for instance. We're about to, you know, as we're getting to the end of this discussion, we have something called market share that's going to come up either today or tomorrow, where you're going to be able to list what it is you know, your product, your service, your business, or whatever on our website in a place that's dedicated,
directory.
Right, like a directory, so we can start to connect, so we'll know where we are, what we offer, what we can do. It's a form of, it's on a smaller scale. I mean, it's people to people, person to person, but it's still coalition. It's a way of us connecting. So we want to be able to be that little hub to get you. We have a small, and I think it's small, fee, if you will, or elementary return of 10 notes a month to be listed on the site. I'm not going to be doing all these banners and running all up there. And I'm going to be honest with you all. We have not charged anybody anything all of this time for these banners running on there. I'm running and putting banners and changing all that. We have to do some things, not only to connect us on a more formal level, but also to keep this organization running. You know, we did what we did over the weekend, and it was at no, what will I say? We didn't make a any kind of profit.
There was no profit.
There was no profit. As a matter of fact, we probably
most of what we've ever done has always been at liberty and freely.
Right. So
only with small donations to keep lights on, and even then, still having to come out the pocket. A lot of people don't know that because we don't talk about that.
Absolutely.
That's aside from the fact that you have a few operatives that has actually used the House of Reawakening Minds to divert finance.
Yeah. They've made fake.
Yes. With fake accounts.
Cash app accounts and so forth. But that option is going to come up with 10 notes a month. For, you know, if you have a business, you have a service, we're going to be able to list it. LaChris told me that it should be done today or tomorrow. Yeah. We also, you know, we broke out the 4040 Legacy group membership that's going to give, you know, we just looking for like 40 folks to join the 4040 Legacy group, and that's going to be, you know, 40 people who commit to donate 40 notes a month to keep things going, because we got this other, you know, we got that house now that we have to do stuff for it. Grant, she's been working at the house for 2 weeks, for the last 2 weeks, and we need to do some stuff. And there's certain expenses that we have going to have, whether y'all come and stay or not. But with our 40/40 Legacy Club, folks will be able, those members, and like I said, we're just looking for 40 of y'all. It's about almost 700 of you all between the two, so a little over 700 of you on here. We're looking for 40 folks who commit 40 notes a month. And what that's going to do for us, Sheik, is going to cover our expenses at the new place and a little bit, not all, of the expenses at the House of Reawakening Minds. But what we're going to be giving them is 40% discount in for subject to availability on renting the place out, 20% discount on any kind of events and stuff we have, and the more perks, we're going to be adding more perks to be a part of the legacy. It's not for everybody. All right. So you know what I'm saying? And quite a few people made it known that they wanted to be a part of that were here over the weekend. And I probably wasn't supposed to say this I think I wasn't supposed to say that.
Not yet.
I wasn't going to say anything because we only wanted those folks to get this. Okay.
The Capitol Buildings Funds. We got a lot of exciting things coming.
We have a lot of things.
A lot of exciting. We got a lot of technology, brothers and sisters. That's in technology, the AI world. We need y'all. Please get a hold of
you've been attending some
AI because that could be a great force and a push to a lot of businesses that are coming online. And I'll leave this with the viewers, Dr. G. And these are those that are serious to come online and being a part of the Capital Building Management Funds.
Right.
Look at these small capital businesses that are under 10,000. They call them startup company buildings.
Yes,
so we'll leave that with them. We'll leave that with them, Dr. G. And those
you're going to be giving them more. Right.
And what we're going to be doing, especially online in the next couple of weeks, I think a lot of people's going to be excited about that and what's going to be coming online with that. So start looking into that so you can start.
Where can they find that list so that they can start already to, or where is there a specific?
It's a Google search away. Just do small businesses under whatever amount, 10,000, 5,000, but it's about what you can manage is the key. Don't
look at this. This is the very nature, and this is only one of the layers of what Brother Ross Jai is bringing up. That includes that. This is what people need to understand. The coalition involves socialization, geopolitics, economics, government structure, civics, jurisprudence, and chronology history. They need to understand that's what the coalition involves. They need to understand all of that is part of coalition operations. They're not separate subject matters. You have the floor.
Islam. Someone asked for the link for the 40 Legacy group. It's going to be on the website. And if you were here this past weekend, please, and you came to me because a few of you did. As soon as it's up on the website, please just check the website. Look, Chris will have it where it's prominent, because what we're going to do is when we get our numbers, we might go maybe 10 or we might go up as high as 50, but we're going to shut it off. Because, you can always donate and, we appreciate that, but we want these specific, a legacy is somebody who is in their heart wants to lay a foundation for generations to come. And they want to be the founding. I'm in one organization, and we had a legacy. We don't have this, but as a legacy member, they gave us a silver coin, as you got, and there's thousands of people in this organization now. And I realized, and I think I paid 150 notes for that silver coin when I got it, but I'm number 14 among thousands. That's a low number. Now they've got thousands of people that are buying coins, but I got in at number 14. So I say that to say you want to get in on the ground floor for your support, because as we are come up with other opportunities and other, I can't call anything other than perks or things that we can add to it, we're going to do it. We're going to give more and more because you're helping us do what it is that we've been called to do. And we're going to have more events. We're looking next year, to do it even bigger. And you know, the interesting thing
Yeah.
is that I
We'll be doing
mentioned.
theme parks, Dr. G.
Hmm?
We'll be doing theme parks soon. Look
Right.
out.
Well, I mentioned somebody, some organization building that I would love to use next year for a larger event. And lo and behold, about 3 days ago, I got a phone call to help. It is political, at a local level, but to help someone on a local level do something. And this particular individual who called me to help her help somebody else said to me, the building that I'm looking for, just use my name, right? When you're ready, just tell them that I'm on board for whatever it is you're doing. I mean, that quick. You know, we only mentioned it over the weekend that we wanted to get something much larger, and then I get a phone call saying, you know, I'm giving. I forgot what she said, but basically she's like, just use my name, and that'll help you get. And so, you know, things are happening, are manifesting. And before we go, I wanted to say, and I'm not all, you know, I wish I had gotten brother Hassan and brother Sean to address it when they were on Tuesday. But y'all remember that next Tuesday, the 8th, I believe it is the Lionsgate, the 8/8 portal. If you don't know anything about it, Google it, find out about it, and figure out how you can get yourself in position to manifest, you know, and not just haphazardly, but it's got to be in your heart. And hopefully, what we're talking about, coming together and all that stuff, will be a collective thing that we can manifest.
Yes.
The Lionsgate portal happens probably every year, but it's not always the same. And this one is a really particular one because of the planetary lineup. And you need to, when you leave, if you haven't already heard of it, Google it, do it, check it on YouTube, and do what it is that you need to do to be in the right space, headspace,
get your house
heart
in order.
space on for Tuesday for this manifestation. And you got to, you know, like I said, immediately within 2 or 3 days, something I mentioned, somebody calls me for something else, and because of that I'm going to be able to probably get favor and to get that other, you know, that larger venue that we need for the next time we come together. So I'm just saying, and the energy is already coming in. So that's probably why it happened, you know, because I think it's been coming in since about July 20 something, but it's stronger, most potent is going to be on the actual 8/8.
Yes.
You know, we're in the sign of Leo, Lionsgate. That energy is you know, some things you've been wanting, and there's things we want as a collective. Hey, let's get our heart space right.
Yes.
And so we can receive that and manifest. I believe we're going to hear from folks saying, hey, Dr. G, I checked that out and I did such and such, and this happened and that happened. I trust and believe that, you know, somebody needed to hear that. So, Brother Ross, you want some last, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to, let me give a, you know, special gratitude. And we would also upload that on your network. So anybody wants to reach out to any one of these Morris provincial states that already has, you know, are online when it comes to international law recognition. AMPAG Colorado, AMPAG Georgia, AMPAG Michigan, New Mecca, Maru, which is anti-Indiana, Dinty, which is anti-Texas, Scaru, which is North Carolina, and we also have other brothers and sisters right now that are, you know, collectively bringing their coalition together and bringing their state online. Just want to give a special gratitude to those brothers and sisters from Illinois Republic, brothers and sisters from Florida, California, Arkansas, and also Ontario, Canada. So you see that, you know, we got brothers and sisters collectively, you know, in structure on the move, trying to get internationally recognized so we could be that liaison to all of the Moroccan family and the Moroccan nationals as far as their divine decree and that international human rights recognition and protection that we could bring, you know, to all of the family and the groups and organizations. Last but not least, I just want to give a special gratitude to my mentor, Isa Shamo Talib Bey, and my sister, Connie Bey. She knows who she is. I just truly appreciate them for being, you know, when you understand tough love, you know, love
And
is not always,
steadfast.
yes, love is not always supposed to be pampering, sweet, and cuddly. So I just appreciate them for pushing me,
Steadfast.
to be
Being diligent and
absolute,
steadfast on principle.
absolute gratitude. And also, I want to give also maximum gratitude to Anthony. That's Anu Manahata Paradium, Anta New York. The body, the officials, gratitude, thank you. Um, and we're here, like I said, our missionary work is to do what we're doing now. We're breaking barriers, we're building
Yes.
coalitions, and this is an invite to all. This is not a separation. This is not big eyes, little U's. This is all of us coming on one page and being in harmony and being a voice to the international community. Islam.
Alliance and unity on principle. Anyway, thank you, Chief Justice Kazi Rasjai, by work and by title. Much appreciated. We got to continue this. You already know that.
Yes, most definitely. Affirm.
Much love, much peace.
All right, we thank you so much, and we like I said, we're going to get as much as we can on the website.
Yes.
Big shout out to Sister LaChris because she is on it, y'all. She's the one that sends you all the notifications, the updates, does the newsletter and whatever, and the sister is phenomenal, and I just appreciate her to life. So we have to give honor to where honor is due, or and or give recognition to where recognition is due for the good things that we're doing. So thank you so much. Somebody's calling me. Wait a minute. We're not off the air yet. You probably just got the number from there. So I'm gonna hang up and let you call back. So anywho, we're gonna go. We're gonna go. We're gonna go. Yeah.
Have a good evening.
So rolling gold.
Chief Justice.
Yes. Have a great and grand evening. We appreciate you, each and every one of y'all. So we gonna go because we a little hour or so later than we normally. And I'm getting sleepy, y'all. I'm sleepy.
Love
I got
to the world.
50th was it 50th class reunion to go to tomorrow. So, thank you so much. Thank you.
I've been working night and day.
You've been working on the but it's beautiful. It's beautiful though. The work you're doing is beautiful over there. Y'all gonna love it when you come and get to stay at the
at the end.
At the end. Yeah, at the end.
There's room at the end.
Okay. All right. Somebody else has called me. All right. Let me put my hand. We got peace. Let me put this out.
Peace, Chief Justice.
Peace.
We gotta go. We gotta go.
The deeper and deeper I go, I find what it is I should know. 'Cause it's just a matter of time. But you'll reawaken your mind. Oh, come with me. Come to know and find out what is true. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living a lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening minds. Come to know and find out what is truth, yes. Then you'll know what's in store just for you. No more living a lie. I can look to the sky and say, I'm reawakening